We're deep in it now. The council has stopped debating and started deciding, and what they've decided is force. Connach'rel doesn't want them? Fine, they'll take it anyway. Meanwhile, 1,000 years in the past, a woman named Freydis walks into that same chamber and reminds everyone exactly why that approach has never worked. These 4 chapters are running 2 timelines side by side, and the tragedy is how perfectly they rhyme. Sorry, I couldn't help myself. Anyway, the present is repeating every mistake the past already made. Oh, and Vrashek is being kept alive by hot peppers. Really, I'm not making that up. Well, I guess I am making that up. Let's get into it.
A 1,000 years ago, the council chamber glowed with the same refracted light. The fractured beams of starlight spilled across the obsidian floor, casting long, angular shadows that seemed to move with every breath of the gathered elders. Seats curved in a crescent around the central dais, their occupants draped in deep violet and silver robes, the colors of ancient authority. They spoke in low, solemn tones, voices layered with centuries of memory and burden. Guthian Pos, general of Zora, his scarred hand trembling slightly as it pressed against the marble rail before him.
It cannot be ignored. 2 of the Ark ships silenced, a 3rd damaged beyond its mission parameters. This was sabotage. It was not the work of chance.
He pounded his gauntleted fist on the table.
It bears the marks of deliberate treachery. The name has been whispered in the shadows of this chamber before. Whispered, but never confirmed.
A ripple of unease passed through the council. At last, Feldo Qua, director of analytics, leaned forward, his gaze sharp.
I will say it. The Oblivion Covenant. It is almost certain that they struck at the Arks. Who else among us would so willingly betray their own people to prevent our survival?
Murmurs swelled, agreement mixed with fear. Some councillors nodded gravely, others looked away as though the very words polluted the air. Before the debate could spiral further, Salin Sudis rose from her seat with a sharp gesture, her braid falling like a whip across her shoulder.
Enough. The Covenant is a rot we must excise.
Salin said it, and almost convinced herself.
But we will not save a single ship by naming ghosts. We must focus on what can still be done. The Arendor is disabled, and all but lost, yes, but the Triangulum Arc may yet endure. The Milky Way mission may yet be salvaged. Our priority must be...
The double doors of the chamber thundered open. The commotion spilled into the room before the people did. Every head turned as Freydis strode in, her steps echoing like drumbeats, guards following her warily. The artifact lay cradled under her arm, its surface alive with faint pulses of molten light. It was awake and aware.
You sit here, debating shadows and tallying losses, while you hide the truth from your people. You,
Freydis declared, her voice carrying with raw defiance, her gaze locked on Salin.
hide most of all.
Gasps broke out. Some elders half rose, while others leaned forward with predatory interest. Salin's eyes narrowed into slits.
Freydis Qua, why do you bring that relic here? You know it is not permitted outside the research facility.
Freydis lifted her chin. The golden script across the artifact's surface shimmered brighter, as if in answer to her words.
Because Connach'rel...
The light swelled so suddenly that the obsidian floor reflected molten gold, and half the council swore they heard a second voice beneath Freydis's own, faint, resonant, undeniable.
Wanted me to bring it here. It belongs where it wants to go, And right now it wants in this chamber, not locked away like some failed experiment.
The glow intensified as its name was spoken, the chamber itself seeming to vibrate with its resonance. The council was stone quiet at the mention of the artifact's name, because it was the first time anyone had heard it. Salen's composure broke, a flicker of alarm betraying her practiced calm.
It told you Con-Ashrel is its name, Freydis? And that it wants to be here? Fine. Then it will stay here. Seize the artifact!
The chamber erupted in motion, but it was drowned out, swallowed whole, as Con-Ashrel flared like a newborn star, and all the councillors felt their shadows stretch toward it. The transmission flared across the command hub, Triel Van's image rising in jagged light. Her voice was already sharp before the three on Earth had a chance to speak.
Explain yourselves.
Her pale eyes swept over Silas, Talrin, and Vrashek, each shrinking slightly under the weight of her fury.
You had both the artifact and the humans within reach, and yet I am told they slipped away? Why do I not have Con-Ashrel in my possession this moment? Why is it still in that researcher's quarters, under that human's arm?
Vrashek snarled, his thin lips curling to expose fangs dulled by Earth's air, but still dangerous.
The artifact is back on the station. If you bring me back to the station, instead of keeping me rotting in this gravity-sick hole, the artifact will be yours. Bring me up now, Triel Van. I will finish what these two failed.
Talrin, the younger of the pair, folded her arms and leaned into the projection's glow.
Failed? You overestimate yourself, Kren. You barely function in this climate. You cough, you sweat, you stink of weakness. We don't need a half-dying mercenary tripping over himself, throwing humans where they don't belong.
Careful, Zarathian.
Or what, Kren? You'll wheeze at me until I faint?
The words snapped whatever restraint Vrashek still had. In a blur of motion, he lunged, claws slicing the air. Talrin twisted aside, her blade flashing into her hand, but his sheer mass and speed crashed against her like a storm. The two hit the bulkhead with bone-jarring force, her knife skidding away across the floor. The struggle turned brutal. Talrin struck with sharp elbows and knees, but Vrashek was too strong. He broke through her defenses. His hand closed around her throat, pressing until her teeth bared in a silent snarl.
Pathetic,
he hissed, eyes burning with triumph. Then Silas moved. Silent until now, he casually stepped between them and caught Vrashek's wrist in his own iron grip. For a moment, the air itself seemed to stall as Kren and Covenant agent locked gazes. Then Silas wrenched him back, forcing his claw away from Talrin's throat.
That's enough. Triel Van asked for answers, not blood.
Vrashek strained against him, but Silas's hold did not falter. Triel Van's projection flickered, her lips pressed thin with disgust.
You waste my time with squabbles. I care nothing for your excuses. I want results. The human and the artifact are here, and I'll either recover them myself or send them back to you. Fail me again, and it will not be your throats you're fighting over. It will be your lives.
Her image collapsed into static, leaving the chamber heavy with silence and hatred. Elsewhere on the Oryx station, Roger Allen sat hunched forward in Drimus's quarters, a notebook perched on his knee. His pen, borrowed like the notebook from Castor's backpack, tapped the page in an uneven rhythm, scratching down bullet points as though building a case.
All right, so far we've got one stolen artifact, one alien ambassador that stole it, one intergalactic Cold War that apparently nobody bothered to mention to anyone on Earth, and me stuck in the middle without a badge, backup, or a donut.
Across from him, Drimus sighed and folded her hands. She had explained the events with steady patience, though Roger's ceaseless questions tested even her composure.
The negotiation was meant to remain secret. The Kren agreed to hold it here at the station, at a counselor's suggestion, where the council is at their strongest. That counselor had already been in negotiations with the Kren for a month. We agreed only to discuss terms. Conishrel was never even mentioned. But after 2 weeks, before any resolution could be reached, their agent struck, stole the book, and fled.
Roger's pen scratched faster.
So this book, it wasn't supposed to leave the research facility. It wasn't supposed to be anywhere near me. And yet, somehow, it landed in my lap along with Castor and Sara.
Correct.
Roger paused, chewing the end of his pen. His eyes narrowed.
We'll figure out how Castor wound up with it in a little bit. But first, tell me something. Is it common knowledge that the book's even on this station?
Drimus tilted her head, then shook it firmly.
No. Only council members and a select handful of science keepers and researchers know. To most of Zora, it's just a legend.
Roger tapped the pen against his notebook. Once. Twice. Then he looked up sharply, his detective's instincts kicking in.
Then how did he know? The Kren.
The room went still. Even Sara, silent in the corner, lifted her eyes at the question. Roger leaned back, lips curling into a grim line.
Somebody's been talking. Or worse, somebody on the inside wanted him to have it.
And then they heard boots coming down the hall as the artifact screamed inside their heads.
Again.
Then it flared, impossibly bright. When it subsided, the room was empty. Once the light from the Conishrel faded, they were in a room. The heat outside clung to them even in here, a cool stone chamber beneath the ruins. Dust motes swirled in the single shaft of light, and beneath it, Castor could smell the hot sand, and somehow knew they were in Egypt. He could also feel the group fraying at the edges, suspicion scraping against nerves like flint.
Look, while we figure out why it yelled again so loudly, let's talk this through.
Oh, I absolutely agree with Castor.
Drimus said at once, sliding closer to his side. Her voice dipped, mock serious, her eyes batting with mischief.
Sharp, logical mind. Very trustworthy. And did I mention heroic? Because heroic.
She sighed dramatically, leaning too close, enough to make Castor shift. Sara rolled her eyes.
Drimus, please. You two are impossible.
2? What do you mean by that? All I've been doing is standing here. Looking heroic, I guess.
Drimus latched onto his arm with a theatrical sigh. Sara looked irritated but pressed on.
I'm not convinced it's so simple. Trielvan, the first time I reported this artifact, she used the word assassin. That's what she called Vershek. But for all anyone knew, he could have just been some opportunistic diplomat with a grudge.
That sounds ridiculous. An assassin diplomat? That's like hiring your dentist to juggle knives.
He gave Drimus a look.
Or using the word two when clearly it's just you.
She only clutched his arm tighter, gazing up unabashedly.
Actually, there's precedent.
Drimus piped up, then winced.
And besides, Sara's family line isn't exactly spotless.
Sara blinked.
Excuse me?
Drimus shifted suddenly, uncomfortable. Finally, she let go of Castor's arm.
I may have let something slip. One of your ancestors wasn't just sympathetic to the Covenant. She was a founding member.
Silence stretched until Roger barked out a laugh, sharp as a gunshot.
Oh, perfect. Of course family tree watered with treason. Just perfect.
Don't you dare.
Look, we already knew some of this. It's not Sara. She didn't even know until Drimmers dug it up. There isn't proof of anything. For all we know, the Covenant's behind what happened, not her.
Roger stepped forward, finger stabbing the air, his notebook flapping open in his other hand.
No, I want to know whose side she's on. If you were Covenant, what better cover than acting like one of the good guys while deflecting suspicion? Sounds neat, doesn't it? Especially when all those records got buried where Little Miss Purplehair never knew her own family history.
That's not fair.
Castor said quickly, putting himself between them.
Yeah, Castor's right.
Drymus added with a dreamy glance at him. Then, to Roger,
You don't know the Zarathian talent for burying things. It happens all the time.
This isn't about buried records. I want to know, whose side is she on?
Sarah's face burned crimson. Her eyes flared, a mix of fury and heartbreak.
Not theirs. Never theirs.
Long ago, in the council chamber, chaos had erupted.
We are not yours to do with what you wish.
Freydis said. The artifact, Konosh Rel, no longer glowed like a distant sun. Its light had dimmed into something jagged and furious, pulsing like a dying star. The radiance lashed outward in invisible waves, and every guard collapsed at once, clutching their heads and writhing on the floor in agony. Their cries echoed against the crystal walls until the chamber seemed a pit of suffering. Freydis stood in the center, breathing heavily and sweating now, but untouched, her gaze burning as hot as the artifact she carried beneath her arm. She stared down 12 of the most powerful beings in Zarathian civilization, her words looming over them.
You are no longer in charge of the door or the key.
Voice low and deliberate. Her eyes flicked to the artifact, then back to them.
Not of Konosh Rel, and not of me. We are bound together, and both beyond your grasp now.
The councillors shifted uneasily in their seats, though none dared rise. The guards on the floor groaned like wounded animals, the weight of Konosh Rel's displeasure pressing them down.
I will find the truth, and if treachery costs Darren Dis his life, then it will cost everyone involved dearly. No one here is untouchable.
The chamber erupted in gasps, but it was Salon Sudis who broke. The careful, measured councillor, who always prided herself on control, suddenly lost all composure.
Arrogant child!
She screamed, rising to her feet so violently her chair toppled behind her.
The artifact has been studied ever since it was found in the wreckage. You think only of one life when the whole of existence teeters on the edge. You think of your grief, your rage, when the future burns with fire before us. Do you understand nothing? The Kren Collective waits at the edge of the galaxy, hungry, merciless. If they breach beyond Andromeda, they will consume worlds without end. Millions, billions, trillions, obliterated. And still you dare threaten us with your personal vendetta? Think about the damage that the Kren could do.
Her voice rang through the chamber, shaking with fury, with fear. Freydis had turned and started toward the door, her back to the council, but Salon's words froze her in place. Slowly, she turned back to face her, Freydis' eyes hard, her tone even harder.
I will, perhaps, Think about the damage you do, Salon.
Then, without another word, she walked out, the artifact cradled against her. The chamber reeked of scorched ozone from the artifact's outburst. Guards groaned on the marble floor, clutching at their temples as though Con-Arch-Rel had clawed into their very blood. The councillors huddled in hushed disarray. "It wasn't meant to be opened," one elder rasped, voice trembling. "The ship we pulled it from was shattered beyond recognition. Not Zarathian, not Kren. Something older. Something we were fools to touch," another hissed. "It was sealed away for a reason." Salon Sudis's hands tightened on the railing before her.
It was studied, contained. Its resonance was compatible with our own triple helix. That was all. We never proved intent.
But we know it had one,
intoned Feldoquois.
Con-Arch-Rel is no mere relic. It has direction, purpose, and it was sent to our planet from Caldwell, and now it has chosen her.
All eyes flicked to the chamber doors, where Freydis had departed. Whispers tumbled over one another. Salon's composure cracked for the briefest moment, the barest shadow of fear crossing her face.
If the artifact is true to its origin from Caldwell Galaxy 51, then it may also be true to what it was meant to do, and we cannot take that chance.
Roger Allen, ex-detective, accidental space traveler, zero patience for bureaucratic nonsense, asked the one question nobody had. How did he know? Somebody talked. Well, it wasn't me. And somewhere in the fallout of that question, Sara's family history landed on the table like a grenade. Freydis walked out of a council chamber 1,000 years ago, carrying the artifact and her grief, and exactly 0 apologies. 2 women, 15 centuries apart, both paying for other people's choices. That's the current running through this series, and it just got a lot stronger. Until next time, keep your eye on the curve.